Hey there, movie lovers, and welcome back to Fade to Fact. Today we're diving into one of the wildest, most stylish, and flat-out weirdest sci-fi blockbusters to ever hit the big screen. The Fifth Element, 1997. Directed by Luc Besson, this French-American production gave us flying cars, outrageous fashion, a blue alien diva, Bruce Willis in his prime, and Milla Jovovich speaking a language nobody had ever heard before. The movie might look like pure chaos at first glance, but underneath all the neon lights and Gaultier costumes, it became a cult classic that people still talk about nearly 3 decades later. When it first premiered, audiences didn't quite know what to make of it. Some critics loved its originality, while others thought it was just too much. But over time, The Fifth Element carved out its place in pop culture as one of the most visually daring sci-fi films of the 92nd. It wasn't just another space opera, it was like if a comic book, a high-fashion runway, and a Hollywood blockbuster all collided into one big, loud, colorful spectacle. But here's the thing. Behind all those flying taxis and laser guns lies a treasure trove of fascinating stories. From the fact that Luc Besson first dreamed up the movie when he was still a teenager, to the insane number of costumes designed by fashion icon Jean-Paul Gaultier, to the strange truth that Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman never even shared a scene, there's so much to uncover. So, buckle up, because we're about to dive into 20 things you never knew about The Fifth Element. 1. Luc Besson dreamed it up as a teenager. Long before he became a famous director, Luc Besson was just a 16-year-old kid in Paris, sketching out a wild sci-fi universe in his school notebooks. He imagined futuristic cities, strange aliens, and a story about humanity's survival hinging on an ancient secret. Over the years, those doodles and half-written stories slowly evolved into the script that would become The Fifth Element. In a way, the movie is like a time capsule of Besson's teenage imagination, except with a much bigger budget and Bruce Willis driving the flying taxi. 2. Jean-Paul Gaultier, designed over 1,000 costumes. If you thought the fashion in this film looked like it came straight from a runway, you're absolutely right. French designer Jean-Paul Gaultier, famous for his avant-garde styles, personally created over 1,000 costumes for the movie. He was involved in almost every detail, even approving the outfits worn by extras. That's why even the background characters on the street look like they just stepped out of a futuristic fashion show. It gave the movie its unique, larger-than-life visual style that no other sci-fi has really matched. 3. Bruce Willis wasn't the first choice. It's hard to imagine anyone but Bruce Willis as Corbin Dallas, the grumpy but lovable cab driver. But Willis wasn't Besson's first pick. Mel Gibson was offered the role and turned it down. At one point, even Jean Reno was rumored to be considered. Willis eventually signed on, bringing his classic mix of sarcasm and toughness that grounded the movie's wild visuals. Without him, the whole thing might have tipped too far into pure cartoon territory. 4. Gary Oldman and Bruce Willis never shared a scene. Even though Gary Oldman's villain Zorg and Bruce Willis's Corbin Dallas are the two central forces in the movie, they never actually meet on screen. Not once. All their interactions are through other characters or events, which makes it unusual for a film with a clear hero and villain. It's a creative choice that worked, but it's something many viewers don't notice until someone points it out. 5. Milla Jovovich wasn't the only candidate for Lilu. Lilu's role, with her fiery orange hair and strange new language, became Milla Jovovich's breakout performance. But she almost didn't get the part. Actresses like Tricia Helfer and even model-turned-actress Elizabeth Berkley were considered. Besson chose Jovovich for her unique presence. She seemed both fragile and otherworldly, exactly what he needed for the character. Funny enough, Jovovich would go on to become a sci-fi action icon in her own right with the Resident Evil series. 6. The divine language was real. Lilu doesn't just babble nonsense when she speaks her so-called divine language. Luc Besson and Milla Jovovich actually worked together to create a real, functional language with around 400 words. They even practiced it in letters and conversations off-set. By the time filming was done, they could hold full conversations in it. That attention to detail made Lilu feel genuinely alien and not just another human in space. 7. The diva's song was nearly impossible to sing. The scene where the blue alien diva sings is one of the most memorable in the film. The aria starts with a real opera piece, but then shifts into a futuristic remix that no human voice should be able to handle. The high-speed vocal runs were digitally enhanced because even the professional opera singer Inva Mula couldn't sing them live. Still, she delivered the bass performance, and the result was something haunting and unforgettable. 8. It was the most expensive European film ever made. At the time of its release, The Fifth Element was the most expensive film ever financed in Europe, with a budget of around $90 million. It was a massive gamble for French cinema, combining Hollywood stars with European style. Luckily, the bet paid off. The film made over $260 million worldwide. It also proved that European productions could compete with the scale of American blockbusters. 9. The New York City of the future was built in England. You might think all those flying cars zipping through future Manhattan were created in some American studio, but the film was actually shot mostly at Pinewood Studios in England. Massive sets were constructed to bring Luc Besson's vision to life, and many of the effects shots were practical miniatures enhanced with CGI. It was a blend of old-school and new-school movie magic. 10. The taxi chase took 3 months to film. The thrilling sequence of Corbin Dallas's flying taxi dodging traffic looks like it might have been a quick shoot with some CGI, but it actually took about 3 months to put together. Model makers, stunt coordinators, and visual effects artists worked tirelessly to get the right balance of chaos and realism. The sequence became one of the standout moments of the film and influenced how sci-fi car chases would look for years to come. 11. The movie was inspired by French comics. Luc Besson was heavily influenced by French sci-fi comics like Valerian and Laureline and the Incal. These comics were known for their vibrant art, strange alien designs, and futuristic cityscapes. If you look closely, you can see the similarities between The Fifth Element and these works, from the flying cars to the outrageous costumes. In fact, later lawsuits claimed the film borrowed too much, though nothing stuck legally. Still, the DNA of French graphic novels is all over the movie. 12. The military scenes were a nod to Besson's father. The opening scenes with the military and scientists examining the ancient temple weren't just random sci-fi filler. Luc Besson's father worked in the scientific community, and Besson grew up fascinated by both science and military history. The blending of those worlds in the film reflected his upbringing. It also gave the movie a grounding in real-world institutions before things got truly bizarre. 13. Chris Tucker stole the show as Ruby Rhod. Chris Tucker's performance as Ruby Rhod was so over the top, some audiences didn't know what to make of it at first. His wild outfits, squeaky voice, and non-stop energy felt completely different from anything in mainstream sci-fi at the time. Tucker has said he based Ruby on Prince, Michael Jackson, and his own stand-up style. Decades later, Ruby Rhod remains one of the most talked-about characters in the entire film. 14. The production nearly fell apart midway. The film's massive scope almost caused it to collapse during shooting. Sets were constantly behind schedule, the budget kept inflating, and some executives worried the movie would never get finished. Besson had to fight hard to keep his vision intact. Ironically, that chaos behind the camera mirrored the chaos happening in front of it on screen. 15. Milla Jovovich learned martial arts for the role. Lilu wasn't just about strange hair and a made-up language, she was also an action heroine. Jovovich trained in martial arts and stunts to perform her own fight scenes. She practiced choreography for weeks to get the movements sharp and alien-like. By the time cameras rolled, she looked both graceful and lethal, helping Lilu stand apart from other female sci-fi characters of the era. 16. Zorg's plastic headpiece caused problems. Gary Oldman's character, Zorg, has that strange plastic covering on his head, making him look extra villainous. But it wasn't just a style choice, it was also a headache to wear. Oldman complained that the piece limited his hearing and made it hard to deliver lines naturally. Still, the look became iconic, and Oldman's performance was so strong that audiences never suspected the discomfort happening underneath. 17. The exploding spaceship scene was almost cut. One of the movie's big climactic effects involved the Mangalore's spaceship exploding, but with the budget running tight, producers nearly cut the entire sequence. Besson fought to keep it, believing it was necessary to give the villainous aliens a proper send-off. His persistence paid off, as the explosion became one of the most visually satisfying moments of the finale. 18. The opera singer was dubbed twice. The diva Plava Laguna was played on screen by French actress Maïwen Lebesco, but her singing voice came from opera soprano Inva Mula. Then, for the techno-inspired second half of the aria, digital manipulation was added to push the notes beyond human limits. In short, it took 3 different people, the actress, the singer, and the sound engineers, to bring one unforgettable character to life. 19. It split critics right down the middle. When The Fifth Element premiered at Cannes, it received both standing ovations and harsh boos. Some critics called it visionary, others thought it was loud nonsense. American reviews were equally divided, though audiences responded more positively. Over time, however, the film's boldness and originality helped it gain cult classic status, with fans praising it as one of the most unique sci-fi films of its era. 20. It changed sci-fi cinema forever. Though not everyone appreciated it in 1997, the movie paved the way for more visually daring sci-fi. Its mix of fashion, music, and outrageous world-building inspired everything from The Matrix to modern space operas. Filmmakers cite it as proof that sci-fi can be fun, colorful, and unapologetically weird. In hindsight, The Fifth Element didn't just entertain, it redefined what a sci-fi blockbuster could look like. And there you have it, 20 things you never knew about The Fifth Element. Looking back, it's no surprise that the film continues to spark conversation nearly 3 decades after its release. It wasn't just a movie, it was an experience. Luc Besson gave us a sci-fi universe that was equal parts comic book, opera, fashion show, and action spectacle. Few films since have dared to blend so many styles with such fearless energy. What's even more impressive is how the movie's legacy has only grown with time. Fans still debate its quirks, cosplay as Lilu and Ruby Rhod at conventions, and quote Bruce Willis's dry one-liners. Critics who once dismissed it now recognize it as one of the boldest sci-fi experiments of the 92nd. So, what about you? Do you think The Fifth Element is a misunderstood masterpiece or just a colorful slice of chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we'd love to hear your take. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you won't miss more behind-the-scenes secrets from your favorite movies. Until next time, this is Fade to Fact, signing off.